In one sentence, what does your product do?
ClearOps is a B2B SaaS privacy tech company offering vendors questionnaires as a service and vendor risk management tools.
Now, give us your elevator pitch in less than 60 seconds.
Vendor risk due diligence is a huge pain. If you think about where due diligence started, basically boxes and boxes full of papers to go through, it hasn't really moved much further than that other than going online for things to sift through. So ClearOps is unique because we focus on solving the pains of vendors who are on the receiving end of risk due diligence. We currently offer two solutions. Clear Answer Management automates response to privacy and security questionnaires and assessments, and our service provider reports generates weekly privacy and security operations reports on vendors and their own downstream service providers.
What is the problem you are solving?
We're solving vendor risk due diligence.
How are you solving it?
We solve it by bringing in automation to help vendors respond to the risk due diligence that they're being put through by their customers. And we do that in two ways. We have a Clear Answer Management platform that automates the response to security questionnaires and privacy assessments, as well as creating a system of record. And then we also pull in public data so that you can see what vendors are doing from a public standpoint. Make sure that you're staying compliant.
Why is your solution different from others?
We are different in a couple of different ways. The first is that we solely focus on the vendor side of the table. So we are on the response side to vendor risk due diligence. We believe that vendors have been suffering from a large influx of due diligence inquiries, and they need tools to support them in return. We also are different because we bring in the public data. So we scour public information and pull it together into reports to help vendors with their own downstream due diligence. And then finally, we also are creating a legally defensible record for the vendors so that if there is trouble down the road, they have the system to rely on.
What market segment is best suited to use your product or service?
We're focused on the Chief Information Security Officer's office or team. We find that most people who are responding to the questionnaires and the due diligence that vendors have to go through is in the CISO's office. Sometimes we do find it in the sales team, sales ops office, but generally speaking, we support CISOs.
What is the vision for the product or service in the next couple of years?
The short-term vision for the product and the services is to continue to expand, giving vendors that full suite of tools to respond to vendor risk due diligence. We are seeing changes in the marketplace when it comes to due diligence. There's a lot of reliance on audit certifications in addition to questionnaires and in addition to the public information. So bringing all of that together into one platform for response is really critical. But at the end of the day, in the long-term future, we're hoping that this whole due diligence process changes because we do believe that these questionnaires and what currently is happening is not the most ideal process.
How did you get your first paying customer?
So I got my first paying customer actually before we even had a tool or product or anything in place. This was someone who I had known for a short period of time, and we were having a conversation, and I was telling her how I wanted to start this company called ClearOps and how we were trying to solve third-party risk due diligence. And she turned to me and she said, "Wait a second, can you help me with my HECVAT problem?" I had no idea what HECVAT stood for, but I had a feeling it was similar to SIGs or CIQ or any of those other acronyms that are being used for security questionnaires particularly. And so I said, absolutely. And then I immediately turned around and Googled HECVAT, only to find that it is the public questionnaire for higher education technologies. And so, yeah, so she said it was a huge problem for them. They were getting inundated with questionnaires. And so when I told her that's what we were doing, she brought me in and we started working with them, and we're still working with them today.
How do you collaborate with clients in regards to features and design?
So I consider myself a client of my own product. I actually wanted to build this company with my co-founder because I myself was responding to questionnaires and helping with third-party risk due diligence when I was at startups. So when someone asks me for a feature or to change the design, I actually go through and use the product myself to see how useful it would be. And if I, and then I also benchmark it against how many requests I've had. And if both of those things are happening, then we start to prioritize that as a new feature or design.
How did the product or service start? What is the story behind it?
The main story behind it is I was general counsel to a marketing technology startup, and we received a questionnaire that was several hundred questions long, and it resulted in a contract being delayed by a year. So I started to think about how painful this process was, and as the years went on, started to see more and more and more of them. And at one point thought to myself, it'd be awesome if there was some kind of database of all my answers, and talked to my co-founder who I had met over the years and asked him about it. And he said, this sounds like something that is ripe for automation, and we should go about solving it. And so that's what we did.